double click on the go live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for letting me take a turn hosting once again. This is Geek Out number 71, doing the Lost Fleet read along with all these lovely people here, which we will get a chance to go around and say hi to them. For those of you watching this live or catching it on the repeat, full disclosure, spoilers ahead for book 1 of the Lost Fleet, Beyond the Frontier. Make sure I get this right. This is Dreadnaught, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. So, Carl, one of the hosts for Geek on Your Sleeve, and going to give everybody an opportunity to do a quick hello, share what they have going on. Really excited to hear Rajathon plug his new podcast, and then we can jump into the summary. So yeah, wanna just work our way around clockwise?
Sure. I am Ramsey. I run the Rajathon YouTube channel and recently started the Epic Summaries podcast. It's going to be a podcast about summaries of our favorite science fiction and fantasy books. I understand the problem with sometimes, like, we just got done reading the first Lost Fleet series. There's 6 books in that series, and sometimes we all kind of had the thought of, what if, what was going on? We read the book at the beginning of the month. We don't remember for the live stream, or, what was coming for the next part. And so hopefully to be a reference and something positive for everybody to kind of use it as a remember. I actually have, if you want to show the screen, I've got 2 episodes up currently. I have 2 more episodes that need to be edited, trying to keep them about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the summary. But just starting out. It's a lot of fun. I'm on every podcast service so far. Sorry. But yeah, I have the first Eye of the World and Color of Magic, and then a channel trailer. But really, really enjoying that. Finding it harder than doing just a YouTube channel, honestly. So, but that's me. It's you, Joe.
Me, Christ. I'm Joe of Unity 151. I kind of do book reviews / a writing podcasting thing, and I've been doing a weekly side story to my story that I'm writing. It's sort of like it's a sci-fi short, military sci-fi short sort of story thing where my partner narrates some jibble jabble that I've written, and yeah, done that thing. Apparently people like it. If you like that sort of stuff, come watch it. If not, cool. That's it, really. I'm not one to sell myself, really.
When's your book come out, by the way?
Oh, I don't know yet. I'm still doing it. I'm still chugging along at it. I kind of like. I'll be wrapping up a few little things. I've got loads to write on it. I thought I've had like these few extra ideas. I thought, I might want to sort of have like someone, like more of like a small scale, seeing someone flying the ship rather than the big. Someone actually like command all the ships. So I'm going to add another point of view character, which is going to just, you have to write a whole new thing that kind of interwebs and stuff. Like, you have these ideas, I think I must add that, don't add that, and just, never ends. But I'm busy as well, because I'm the stay-at-home parent, where my partner goes to work. She want to go to work. I was like, perfect. I'm a hermit. I'll stay home with the kids. Easiest job ever. It really is. It's 24/7, but it's a very easy job compared to like manual labor and stuff. So I don't really get loads of time to do writing where I'm, dealing with children who scream at me because I won't put her shoes on. Yeah, well, that's me.
I'll help you promote, Joe. You're
thank you.
On the YouTube Unity 151, right?
Yes.
You have the stories online there. Your wife does an excellent job with the voice acting.
Oh, you watch them? Oh,
yeah. I've got a few episodes. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So go ahead and check it out. Thank
you very much. Much obliged.
So I'm Carlos with SpireMetro Books. It's going to be a new channel. I just filmed my first book haul video, like 140 books I picked up as I expand my library here. So,
wow.
Yeah, I'm working through the edit on that guy, and so hopefully I'll have it up next week. So, but I'm glad to be here.
How long before you get through all 140? Do we have to wait to find out when we watch the haul? On
It should be less than. I'm trying to get it down to an hour. So
I'm jealous of those bookshelves behind you. Have you gotten through a good chunk of them, or
I have a lot. I get a lot of them on Audible or audiobooks, and then I pick up the physical copies because it really helps to remember when you go. It's like Sanderson, with the one character holds the memory and objects. But I've this side is like nonfiction, and I've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's for the college. It's about almost 5 shelves on that side completely, and then my fantasy and sci-fi is over here. Pretty much all the top shelves I've gone through, and several Sanderson books, Andrew Rose books are really great.
Good taste.
Yeah, so Jim Butcher's a good guy. So, but I've only been around doing it really about 2 years. Really been into the book thing. So mostly business, sci-fi, and fantasy. That's where my jam is.
Right there with you. Need to pick your brain on more of that good stuff later. And yes, support the authors, buy the physical copies, buy the audibles.
He's given me some great ideas on marketing for like the channel and the podcast. Like he's really knows his stuff in marketing.
Awesome. Glad to have you on. And then we have the voice to keep us all on track, AdmiralStarNight.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm AdmiralStarNight. I'm the voice from the void here because I don't like cameras. I'm a sci-fi enthusiast, on and off author, and sometimes I even manage to write some things down, which has been a rarity lately with how hectic life's been. But Lost Fleet's one of my favorite series, so I'm glad I could finally be here to talk about it again with you guys.
Yeah. I'm also a reread. I know we've said Ramsey and Joe, this is first pass. Carlos, is this first read for you or reread?
This is the first read, and this is where I'm actually just jumping into the series at this point.
So you haven't read the first part or the first series?
I didn't read the first 6 books of that series.
Oh,
it's okay.
man.
No, you don't have to. He repeats stuff so much you don't.
It's not that bad in this one compared to like the 6th book, where it's like I already know what happens. I'm 6 books deep now. Where this one, it wasn't. I didn't find as bad.
The first 100 pages, we sit there and talk about all the same stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I sort of skimmed through it, so maybe that's why I didn't really finish that bad. I was like, right, I've read. I know this. Yep. That's
like it's military politics and trying to leave the space, the system that they're in.
I went and researched some of the first series and saw an interview of him, and he actually explains why he does that. Like one of his good friends, when he was just a young lad, he was the reader. His friend really wasn't, and he actually his buddy had picked up one of the books. It ended up being like the 3rd book in whatever series it was, and it was his favorite book. And so he was so excited to get his friend reading, and his friend hated it because he didn't know anything what was going on. And so that stuck with him. And he said, like, never will I have that. So it's kind of for us going book after book after book, years after they've been published, is a huge knock. But I could see, he doesn't want any like new readers to really like hop in and have no idea what's going on. So pros and cons.
That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But who jumps into a series mid-series and expecting to know what happens?
That
really?
guy?
I've
but this is a second. This is part 2. So it's a fresh start going into
I've
the
done
story.
it on accident.
Yeah,
I was about to say, yeah.
Like you pick up a book, you're like, oh, I thought this was the first one.
With the Honor Harrington series, when I first picked it up, I picked up the book called Shadow of Saganami, which was the first book in a side series in the lighter half of the continuality of the Honor Harrington. So when I opened the book, they were throwing so many terms at me. I had no idea. I threw the book down. I didn't pick it up until like a year later. And then I read it again and somehow I loved it. And then I realized I had started at the wrong book. So it's definitely, I can see the aggravation because I hated that book when I first read it. It was a waste, but then it became my favorite book in the whole series, actually, on reread.
So I'm quite anal, really. So what I do is like, I'll be like, right, this looks interesting. This cover. I look at it, right, okay. And like I try and find like where the first series is, and then sometimes like there's a prequel. I'm like, right, I'm going right to the beginning, and I go all the way to the beginning, and then I start like that. Like, and then I sort of, then what I do is end up going, right, okay, this is interesting. I get the author, and I think, what's the first book he's actually brought out? Oh, that's the first book. Go right to the beginning, and then just like, that's kind of what I've done.
Yeah,
I was before Goodreads, I had no idea. Like, I didn't know where to get book recommendations. Like, before I found YouTube space that I didn't know. Like, I was watching YouTube for everything, like how to change tires, how to change brakes, how to build bookshelves, how to do all these things. And then finally I found like book reviews. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then through YouTube, I found Goodreads, and now you can go through Goodreads and you can be like, oh, well, what book in the series is this? Because, sometimes you're looking in the front, the first couple pages, and you're like, okay, I think this is the third one. I don't know what it is, but it looks cool. Like, the covers on these are way better than the last series. Even though we're still focusing on Marines when this is ship battles, it's like
we did get more action from Marines.
We did
this book.
It's
little bit.
We go whole books without Marines in the first series, so at least we did get some Marines in this one.
Yeah. But yeah, before we get too far into it, super excited about the breakdown on this panel. Some fresh perspectives, some first reads, some rereads. Ramsey didn't quite get all the way to the end, so do we have?
I got 100 pages left.
Another volunteer for our recap, and he can turn off his ears for a moment.
Yeah, I'll take my headset off.
Yeah. Any new blood wanna do the recap for us, or put Joe or I on the spot?
Go.
Go.
Yes, no, maybe so. All right, I guess it's you, Joe.
Right. The recap.
I can't hear anything. You gotta do something to tell me when you I can go back.
Okay.
Trying to do the recap. So,
wait.
Overall, so the beginning, it's just like a lot of Geary wants to chill and not have to deal with anything. He gets summoned back, made Admiral through some sort of loophole that the politicians did, which he kind of knew was going to happen anyway. Did that. He's got put. It's very obvious from the beginning. It's called. I mean, the book's called Suicide Mission anyway on mine. But he's questioning why has he been sent out like this? All these things, and it's quite obvious they were trying to kill him off. But he had to go off, find the aliens, see what's going on. That's what the government wanted him to do. Some government people are kind of seeming okay, but you don't know whether to trust him. You don't meet a lot of the politician people, but a few of them. Then they try and pull a coup on him, or not a coup, really. It's not a coup. That's the wrong word. They pull trying to what was it? They're trying to get one. Kind of. They try arresting everyone, don't they? And then he's stuck in this big shielded space station, and then dramas happen. They resolve that drama. Off they go, and then they have to go and pick up all these POWs. They don't know who they are, but they're high-profile pain in the asses, which I knew straight away. I was like, well, they're only doing that to get rid of these guys because, I know Geary's just dumb, and it's
honorable. He's honorable.
Yeah, he's very naive to why people are trying to kill him. They do that, pick him up. Ryan gets her fella back. He then tries to challenge him to a duel. Good old-fashioned shoot to the death. Doesn't happen. She's been really weird. It must be because she's got to kill him or something funny, or she knows they're going to try to kill. Something's going on like that. They go off that. Then what they do? Then they go meet the syndics at Midway. They have a chat. She's trying to strike a deal with him. He kind of strikes a deal with her. Bit like that. Then they start jumping into the aliens. The aliens are very weird. They don't want to talk, but they're aliens. They find survivors and they find more aliens, which they did hint at in the second book. And I did think that, when, these aliens are very hidey and stuff, I thought they've got to be hiding from another set of aliens, which they turn out they fired humongous projectiles, ships that are bullets. And now they're up shit street, really. There's no, we're kind of back to book one again. They're like, crap. A bit more optimistic this time. But how do we get out of this situation?
Hell of a cliffhanger, though.
It's good. This book, it was a good start to a book. I liked it. You know, it was a bit slow at first. It took a good few pages before it even left. But there's a lot they've got to wrap up from the last books. You know, it's understandable.
Right.
But it wasn't too bad. And then, you know, there's a lot they've introduced, you know. Bit of dramas. Syndics are still collapsing, all going on. You've got these aliens, which are like fishy aliens that don't want to talk to anyone. They're real hermits, which I understand. These new aliens, you don't even know who these new aliens are, but they have these huge, what do they call them? What is Space Forts? Was it Space Forts?
It was just like, I think they just called it a space fort.
It was a Space Fort,
because
yeah.
I was listening to it on my way home. It was just either a space fort or a minor planetoid. So
yeah, it's like the size of a small planet, but it's a massive space fort. That's what I think they said, something like that. Very much what you just said.
Pretty much the opposite of the first aliens, right? The first aliens, they're really small ships, nothing like a battle cruiser, battleship, or whatnot.
No, smaller than it's not even
The skirmish
not
train.
a battle cruiser. It's like the heavy cruiser. I don't think they're big as a battle cruiser. I don't think
they're
not.
smaller, and then the
Much
other ones
smaller.
are like Death
Huge.
Star. At least that's how I put it in my mind as I was
They've
reading
even got
it.
ships they've got battleships that are bigger than the Guardian battleships that the Alliance have, which I don't know. Have we seen Guardian battleships? I can't remember. There's so many ships; it's so hard to keep track of them all.
Yeah, and
so
then
that's that. Really.
on that one, on the alien ships that you got at the end there is like it looks like just ships are shedding off of it, and really they're projectiles in and of themselves. So, and somebody that didn't read the first part of the series, just to like fill in a little recap on the Syndics, I thought it was really interesting how the Syndics were kind of like splintering off into like this, like more of like a feudal society where the CEOs were having their own systems that they were in control of. I thought that was really interesting.
We ready for Ramsey to come back?
yeah, I think so.
Okay. Ramsey, come back.
And that's how the world got destroyed, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So where I am in the book, they have just left the prisoner planet with all the VIPs. So that's
Oh wow, you're back there.
yeah, I know I'm horrible. Try stopping your camera and starting again, Joe. That might be
It does that. It's like if I go back enough, sometimes it does refocus. I don't know.
Or a piece of paper or something.
Yeah.
So Ramsey, where you're at on those they're at that asteroid. Where are you in there? Have the Marines portion came in?
Yes, the Marines went down. They destroyed everything surrounding it. Like basically, the CEO was trying to extort them for the prisoners' return, and so they went in. They destroyed the planet, and they've just finished.
Oh damn!
They've just finished the conference where all the like guys are like, well, now we need to figure out who's going to command the fleet since we're all here now. And he's like, no, I'm commanding the fleet. We're about to jump into hyperspace, so I can't talk to you.
Yep. Back to the song and dance of the whole first series.
So we are in hyperspace between that.
Okay, yeah, so you're really early. Wow.
I forgot
how much.
I mean,
how much
I'm
100
over.
pages actually is.
I'm over halfway.
Well, the first 140 pages is like still in the homeworld.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so once you get talking about the enigmas, then it's that's all spoilers pretty much at that point.
We'll play nice for Ramsey. Talk first half of the book, and then
I can hop out. I've got things I can knock out, and then we're doing Fall of Hyperion later, so I'll hop into that.
Yes,
as well.
7 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place.
I feel bad I didn't get it done. I really do.
That looks better.
Welcome back, Joe.
That's what happens when you have a vacation plan in the middle of the month.
And we kind of forgot what day it was as well.
So, SpireMetro will probably not be able to contribute to this one, but compared to the first series and the second series, our first books, how'd you guys feel? Like for me, I could tell he grew as a writer, and even though we were like recapping a lot of things, it kind of felt more put together.
Yeah.
As a first book goes, what are your guys' thoughts for the most part? Because I think the series are approximately the same size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So
both 6 books, I think. 6?
yeah,
Okay.
I believe so.
These are a little bit longer than the first set of books. They're maybe 50 pages longer.
I think you said in the Discord, maybe it was Ramsey, that like they're just such long chapters though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
last chapter was long as well.
40 to 50 pages a piece. Yeah, they're very long chapters.
On
And
Audible, they're like an hour or whatnot, give or take.
Yeah, I only got through the last because I've been reading a different series. I had to recap, and since I don't have the physical book to leaf through, I just listened to like literally 4 hours straight of the book from home to work to back.
You're doing it right. 3x speed to get all the way through, right?
And
Uh,
a little too fast. I can't process that much information.
I've tried listening. I decided I did it at 1.3, and I went to 1.5, and I thought, well, that's a little bit too fast for me. I went back to 1.3, and it was good because I don't know, the guy I was listening to, he spoke so slow. It was like, oh, he needs to speed up. This one is real slow. Like some people were right, but he was like, I went over here and done this. I was like, Christ almighty, this is gonna take forever.
Just keep
That's usually
slowly
somebody who makes a lot
scaling.
of mistakes.
And then like after you get through a couple hundred books, you know, if you just keep moving it up and then you go back and re-listen to it. If I'm re-listening to a book where I already kind of like know what's happening, I'll cruise around at 3x speed just to catch it up. That's what I did with this one, because I've probably gone through the whole Lost Fleet series at least 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
I
Maybe
do
more.
2 times probably. And then if they have like an accent, I have to slow down to 1.75.
That's why I stopped it down from 1.5, because they was talking in accents. It was just a bit of a blur. It's like I want to kind of enjoy what's going on rather than just powering through the story, because I'm not doing it to power through a story. I want to listen to it.
Yeah,
That's my fault anyway. But I'm a noob. I'm only 1.3 man.
Yeah, I started off at like 1.4, 1.5, and then as I listening, once you're like into like 30 minutes, I'm at like 2.1, 2.2 is like my normal jam. You kick it down back to 1, man, and it's like
molasses.
Yeah, come on.
So yeah, we've kind of touched a bit about it. I kind of enjoyed spending time in home territory, especially after like the other 6 books being across enemy lines for so long. I found it a bit refreshing to see kind of the politics, the different factions. Like we got to see the fleet administration do their nonsense for the whole like below fuel cells or whatever, where it's like, what, really? Like here they were 6 months behind enemy lines or whatever the time span is, and you're gonna, was it a court martial? They're just like charges.
There's arresting them, on charges of basically like, letting the fuel cells go below what percentage? 20%, was it, something like that?
I think so.
I can't remember.
I don't see how they thought that was anyway a good idea. Like, because coming into book 6, they were running out of fuel as they got home. Like
they ran out, didn't they? They
just didn't have the material to get home, and so instead of accommodation, they were bringing them up on charges, which was like, this is like ridiculous.
A scared politician trying to grasp at the best way. It's like this, as in the first series, I don't know how much like I've touched on or you guys have touched on the accolades, but he isn't just George Washington or something. He's like God among men at this point. So you have got this God tier, literally, somewhat literally God tier tactician with a fleet that's at his command coming home. It's like, what do? You can't do anything. What do you do? Do you let him do what you want? What he wants? Do you do what is technically legal but not correct? And they chose the worst of bad options because they were scared and kind of stupid, but there was no real good way for them to approach any of this, to be honest, except what they actually did by sending him back out to try and kill him.
Put all their problems in a boat. Go ahead.
did they ever go over communication with like the home system? Because it always felt in the first series that basically we couldn't talk to home. No, that home knows nothing about anything. Like how far, like how many star systems away could they communicate with one another? Because I didn't know if it was like a scenario where you basically had to be in system, then you can communicate. And so they were like having to send runners, or like how that system, did they go into that at all? Or
they went into it a little bit, not on terms of like the distance, but in terms of like how it would work, where they get the automatic reports that go back, because the whole time Jameson's character, was doing the whole confusing the reports and policy system. So all that's going back there, and then they think that they're in charge, or at least are playing the role like they're in charge. So they're basically, it's like one-way communications and then reports back. It's like, you do this, and then we're like, oh yeah, we're definitely doing that. Yep, here it is, just like you wanted us to be where we're doing. And then they do whatever they want.
Where Fleet was trying to dictate how they group the ships or whatever from a distance and everything.
Yeah, the micromanagement.
It's super.
And
no, I thought that there was a little like it didn't match where you were talking about the fuel cells. It's because we get the report that they only built the ships to last about approximately a year, and so it was
3 years, wasn't it?
It was.
They made it to 3 years and it wasn't working.
Right, they're at 3 years. They're at 3 years, but they've only built the ships for like a year. Then I'm like, why would they care so much if the fuel cells are at 20% when the whole ship's supposed to basically need to be rebuilt or replaced? Like it was just took me out a little bit because it didn't make sense.
I can imagine it's something old that was around when they didn't die so soon and stuff, like saluting, all that went out the window, because in the first books they never saluted until Geary brought it back. So it's probably something that just happened, and
Yeah,
where I am, he's surprised that the prisoners don't salute him because he's gotten used to saluting again.
Right.
And he's like, oh wait, they don't even know.
Like, he's standing there, and they're like,
it was a really cool part, where I'm at. I'm like really interested where the soldiers have come back and they talked about their culture shock of not only has the war ended, Captain Geary is there. There's aliens now, and like their whole mind, like their minds are just blown. And these were like the guys that are supposed to be a big deal. And they're like, what in the world? Like everything I knew is different.
And the doctor sitting on it with Geary talking to a whole bunch of people with Geary syndrome. Basically shutting them down. Yeah.
That was hilarious. The fact that they named it after him.
Yeah.
It was that was the part that I was like, man, I wish I would have gotten. I was a line medic with the Army. And so the part where they're so built up on this honor system, right? And it's like throughout their entire society, it's who they are. And then yet the things that are the symbolic acts of those honor system, they just, kind of went away with. I was just like, how wouldn't that be reinforcing their, and then the way that they're the upper, like the POWs and earlier in the book, they talked about how the underlings more so concerned about promotions, but now that they're back in system, that whole thing is like on a freeze. I was like, well, if you're on this whole honorary system, then why are you vying for so much promotion when, as you move up, the way they did things was like democratic in terms of the way the leadership executed? So it was like all these little loops where the actions didn't match their societal norms to me.
Yeah, I think he was really trying to say something with that. Like 100 years of war could create weird mindsets where they believe that the only way to be honorable is to rush into battle and get destroyed instead of like using smart tactics. And like he really fought with that in the first series. And I thought it was an interesting take on it. It was like you had to suspend some disbelief definitely in that first series to kind of get that point across. But
Well, that's why there's a bit of a division between battleships and battlecruisers. Because battleships are slower, they usually put captains who are a bit more cautious, would think. So they got put in battleships because they're slower. And then it was, they kind of got shunned a bit for that. And they're more like, yeah, we're smart, honor, let's go. We'll go into battlecruisers and just race off and die.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It was like very Stalingrad, like kind of vibes to it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Back to your question before, I just want to say, it was like you said about the books, what one better of the series. I prefer Dauntless for the overall story, because this had to kind of wrap up other stuff than being like a start-off story. But I think it ended better. There's so much more. You've jumped through all the alien things. There's other aliens that they're really, in a sticky situation. Compared to the other one, they left the situation and they're running. Where this, they're now stuck at the point of where the other book started. So it's kind of like a different take on how that, how that started was they were stuck and they need to escape. Where this, they're now, they've ended stuck. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a different ending.
Yeah, I feel like he was trying to address and answer a lot of the questions that I remember us kind of like bringing up. What happens when he does get back? What happens when the hero from 100 years comes back with, all these soldiers behind him, the loyalty, et cetera, crumbling government, and all that drama there. I would have enjoyed.
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I can remember, didn't the Marines at first say they wouldn't support a coup or anything? I think they wouldn't support a coup in the last book. Did they say they support him, but they wouldn't support a coup or something? Did they say that in the first book?
I remember, I think, because it was with Karabali that I think that came up with, right? I don't know if I remember it from this book, but that might have been from the last series.
No, the last series, that's what I'm talking about. The last series, they didn't support. But I think in this book...
Karabali came... What I remember from that scene is she called up Gary, and she was like, no, we're not doing this. Doesn't matter what you say, we're not doing this. And then in this book, they supported him against unlawful actions by the government, because they just wanted to arrest Gary for doing his job.
Yeah,
they had his back. I feel like I kind of got the vibes that, like, if it did hit the fan, they definitely would have gone his side. They wouldn't have been like, oh, I can't really support you if you kind of... I definitely feel there's a hell of a lot more loyalty on them,
You think they would support
not a coup or takeover,
Geary, but not Blackjack?
Yeah, because I think they like, he's proved he's not that person, even though there's people who don't know him but he's definitely, he wasn't that person anyway, but and yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's what a lot of the first book in this start was talking about. Basically, there would be a couple of officers that he would sure just do their own thing and mutiny. But then the problem was that there were so many that were loyal to him that it would basically be a divide between the rest of the alliance and him. And so conveniently, the politicians, were going to take their godlike figure on this essentially one-way trip with ships they know that should have broken 2 years ago. And lack of supplies very clearly let them know that, oh, by the way, you're not going to ever get reinforced or resupplied. And take these very easily destroyable cargo, basically, ships, these ancillary ships that have all your supplies you're going to need. And right before you go, we're going to take about, just 40% of them, which is actually like most of your supplies. We're just going to send those on the way to somewhere else as you're about to leave.
No, wait, we're going to give you reinforcements, but we're going to give you shitty reinforcements in the Adroit class.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, them new ships. So I'm interested because, like, the three, I think it's the three politicians he dealt with, he even said that he doesn't think they're the ones who've done all this to him. I'm interested who he's going to bring, because he seeded it early this time. I think in the last book we had the problem with the person who put the worms. They weren't seeded early enough who these problems were. Where in this, I think he seeded it right from the get-go that there are going to be some additional problems, even if he makes it back. which I like. And I'm curious about who's gone behind these guys, because them three politicians were obviously quite senior compared to that's why they're dealing with him. So it's got to be, they've got to have enough power behind them to be pulling a fast one. And then there's whoever's in charge of the high command or whatever, who's messing, trying to arrest everyone and pulling back ships, because they're the ones who'll be pulling back ships, because they're not the government side. I feel like it's the military side that were trying to pull ships back, because they're building ships as well still, even though they said they weren't.
Right. Our Shamrock found that out when she was unscrambling.
The green-haired lady.
Yeah. Three fleets. His is the old one, the ones that are loyal to him, sent out on a bunch of contradicting orders to go pick up another bunch of Geary diagnosed individuals, complex, along with everyone who's loyal to him. Yeah. Hey, go to the other side of known space and solve our problems. Yeah. One way or another, right?
And if you die in the process, we don't mind.
And if you die with all these people, going to be pains. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll have a whole new slew of sayings with blackjack in it. Curious on your guys' take with trying to think of the right way to quantify this, but just like how he manages all the different factions with like the dictator loyalists under begins with a B.
Badiah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Badiah. Like how he kind of like maneuvers to imply that he's pulling the strings, yet he's still trying to let the other people who wouldn't be in favor of it know that he's not really pulling the strings. I think it was Carlos that was talking about a couple other elements of the book with like the sniff test that kind of like pulled you out of the immersion factor. Was that believable in this book for you guys? Like he seemed to walk the line, or did it just seem like it worked because the plot wanted it to work?
It's a bit hard to believe, like how like that guy's like, yeah, Gary's in charge, and then Gary's being so vague, and he's like, oh, I understand. It's like, Christ, mate, come on, surely.
He's a fanboy.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
That's what I always thought the guy as.
Yeah,
he's not like
he believes what he wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like Geary could, just like, I think like they said in the last series, it's like Geary could come out on stage, spotlights, all the microphones are on. No, I'm not doing it. And God, what's his name? I forgot it already. We just said it. Badiah or something.
Badiah.
He would go, yeah, sure, and then he'd turn around and go back to his little doll of Blackjack Geary and go, yes, you're the dictator, because it's just the way he is.
His little shrine.
That's an interesting take. I had taken it as like a Machiavellian kind of like syndrome like thing. Like, he was like, clearly this guy was in power. And so I'll ride those coattails, because there was times where he was kind of doing his own. It was applied, at least to me, that he was like still willing to do his own thing if that kind of contradicted it. But no, that I could definitely see how it's a kind of like idolized position. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think even smart people can fall in the trap of what you want to hear is being told to you, so you then go, well, he's saying what I want to hear,
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And then other big point in the first half of the book, so we can play well with Ramsey.
I can back out if you need me to.
Where our first big syndicate interaction, right? Like we got everything together. Blackjack has gotten better about learning how to play off the fleet, administration and the politics, and not to give them easy ammunition. That way he can't contradict orders. He just does what he wants anyway, takes a month to wrap up stuff, and then goes and voyages on. And they're like, hey, sure, well, you owe us rent money for your prisoners, Mr. Honorable Guy. Here's the lump sum, right?
Yeah, let's just go to the gold reserves on the auxiliaries. Why not?
Yeah. Like, how are they expecting them to pay it? Like an
Send me a
IOU?
card. I'll just punch it in the system with bank transfer.
What were they
Like-
expecting for their prisoners as well?
Yeah.
Well, it's not them. They probably don't care, do they? Syndics.
No.
That's true. They're employees. They just
Digits.
cut them off.
Mm-hmm.
In the first series, do they imply the background of the syndics at all in terms of the cultures?
You
Yes.
can get some of it.
Because I was like, are these guys like the silk trade? Like how they used to set up the little towns that were like right beyond because they have all the gates, and so like they're just over here, shagging people down as they're coming by is the way I was taking it. Like,
yeah, pretty much. I mean, they just, the more ruthless COs, it's all COs, but it's just like a big corporation.
I want you to imagine the syndicates as if Walmart decided to settle a bunch of planets.
Yeah,
I thought it was an attack on corporate America,
and it was like a military-based Walmart.
right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I was like, see, I'm skewed with all my business books. I was like, man, these worlds would be so well run if they're doing it right. You'd have the corrupt ones that we have to like bury. But I was like, can I read these guys? Yeah, if done right.
They do have a spin-off series, and I've only gotten through the first 3, but I enjoy it, where you follow the syndicates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're interested in that, AdmiralStarNight has written some really cool stuff on my Discord if you want to check it out.
Oh, yeah.
Plugging shit.
Nice.
Watch for those links below, guys. We'll get I'll make sure to snag them. I think we have a couple now, but we'll get Carlos and AdmiralStarNight. That way we can get those linked. But yeah.
The Lost Stars. I wanted to. I didn't know where I was gonna put it, but I guess now would be the best time. Technically speaking, if you wanted to start the Lost Stars now, after you finish this book, you can, because it runs concurrent. Is that the right word to Beyond the Frontier? It happens at about the same time as the series. However, I would recommend you finish Beyond the Frontier and then go back to the Lost Stars, because it'll give you a sort of mirror view of what Geary looks like from the Syndicate perspective of as he's, doing stuff in Syndicate space.
I read it in publication order, I believe, or at least I finished the Beyond the Frontier before I went back and did the Lost Stars, and it was an interesting perspective, for sure.
Where does the comic take place? Do you know?
I haven't touched the comic.
I believe what the comic. I haven't read. I think I have like the first comic somewhere in my piles of books and comics. God, I forgot his name already. Geary's nephew. It's about him.
Oh, Michael.
Okay.
And they're not shy about it. It's in everywhere if you look it up. But so it's got to be either during Beyond the Frontier or in the ending of the last series. So like the last few books maybe.
So I'm safe to watch it, read it then, I mean.
Yeah, you probably, as long as you know about the Enigmas, I think you'll be safe to read it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
bought it ages ago. It's been gathering dust. It's just bugging me.
Yeah.
Don't want to spoil anything. You bought the comics?
Yeah, I bought the whole pack. It's a whole single book.
I got you.
Whatever it's called.
So, love having the full panel on. Don't want to run too long, and we're about up to the first half of the book. So any other thoughts on the cutoff where Ramsey's at with the first Syndicate song and dance, where they decide to flex and do some more damage before picking things up, or can we kick Ramsey out of here and start talking about how the world ends?
Just listen, Ramsey. You'll be fine. You won't spoil it.
The only question I had about the Enigmas when they get the prisoners out is the particulars with how they were running that little asteroid jail.
That's the other.
That's farther.
That's the
in
other
book.
prisoners.
Hey,
Wrong prisoners.
Oh, oops.
Different prisoners. That's fine.
Yep.
I will catch you guys later. I will watch the rest of this as soon as I'm done. I'll probably be done in like a day, 2 days. So thanks, guys. I will see you guys soon.
Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the Discord when you do that. And see you at 7 for Hyperion.
Yes, follow Hyperion. Same channel, same face.
Yeah, same song and dance.
Tell
Thanks,
me about
Ramsey.
the art as well.
All right, and I can't wait to see your first book haul, Carlos. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you guys.
All right, so Enigma Prison Planet. That's where we're at, right?
Yeah, the asteroid that they were keeping them in.
I liked it. It was an interesting idea. It kind of shows that like they're not just killing them all; they're keeping them. Now, is it because they're doing them as lab rats, or they kind of feel a bit bad, maybe in their own alien way? I don't know.
The 333 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they ever lost one, they would replace them. They never actually saw the aliens. Like,
well, it shows they can control whether they can be fertile or not, whether it's the male or the female. I don't know, but
well, to be fair, if in the book they did mention, I do remember that they had nano.
Yes.
So they could piggyback off that to, I'm assuming, keep everything balanced and monitor them remotely, as they've done everything, because they're the Enigmas. So
put them to sleep, get them pregnant, disappear with the dead. Yeah. It was interesting. I don't know if I'm just a sucker for aliens, but like overall, like I enjoyed this book that much more than the first series, and I think he does a good job with aliens, because so often when you read stories, they're just like us, right? But green skin. But here we're dealing with completely different thought processes and paradigms, and I enjoyed kind of following the different groups, the civilians, the fleet, kind of trying to reason through it and challenge themselves on it, and just how different the Enigmas were, right? And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But one of them though didn't want to kill himself, did he? Or she, whatever it was. Apparently tried escaping, but
yeah, it's one of those things where Bidet or something said it's a coward, and it's like, what would be, I'm not sure what the comparable act in that situation it would be, because a human would try to escape that situation no matter if they were ordered to stay or locked in there with no escape pods. They'd still try to escape, but it's like, we'll never know because they're dead. Maybe they had family and they wanted to see them again. It's like we'll never know because they're the Enigmas.
And kind of along that same thought process, though, that was the first one we found, and I'm not saying it's not true, but we only know that one tried to escape because I think it was the commander of Dragon took it upon themselves to scan for for people. The other ones could have, quote unquote, jettisoned and we just didn't know, right?
Stealth jet, you never know, sank.
Yeah. The unknown.
And I think one of the things with the Enigma race is that, well, that person or alien, whatever, may have ejected. They may have been in a pickle, like even if they survived, because if, let's say, one of their military people managed to eject, and then they sent a signal back to another ship that popped in, would they pick them up, or would they see them as cowards and go, "No, you're dying because you should have done it for the race, for the Enigma race. So you're staying there, or we're killing you because you risked our species."
Right.
Or do they even have the concept of coward? Like it was just like, like there might not be shame. It
That's
might
just what
be
they do.
That's
it.
exactly. That you, if threatened, you know, like if a lizard gets its tail bitten off, you know, it just loses its tail. You
Right.
know, it's not like,
Right.
oh, I have to escape and get rid of this thing. You know,
And we talked about a couple other aspects of the book that like killed the immersion or didn't pass the sniff test. For me, with the series so far, like that really brought me into the immersion, right? Because even just within humanity, it's hard to grasp different cultures. So the fact that here they were going through and trying to reason through it, and I had a fun laugh out loud moment when, it was our Marines, I think it was like Korabali or whatever, was like doing the reference about like humans and reproduction, and then it wasn't Tula, or it wasn't
Duluis, whatever his name is.
Duelos,
Yeah.
And he was like, but I questioned my masculinity after a few seconds.
Yeah, not thinking about reproduction and everything. It's like, like that's a good perspective on like humans and just their mindset, and then the enigma and just how everything just seems so different and we don't even know, right? And they kind of start to go through some of that the further along they get. And then now that Ramsey's not here, we have a whole second species of aliens at the end of the book.
What?
right? Cliffhanger much?
Yeah.
At
least he set you up for it, that they were coming with the when they found gates that were basically what should have been inside their territory, and they're like, well, wait, if this is supposed to be only on the border and they're actually used as a line of defense, why are they interior? And the only thing that I was like, how does nobody say this? Was when they were like, oh, it must be because they have internal differences. They thought of them as themselves, saying like, oh, we have cultural division. I'm like, or there could be another baddie out there that is actually scarier.
They did mention this in the other series. I can't know if it was book 2 or 3. They did bring that up, that like about the aliens maybe were fighting another alien species, and that's why they was pushing into the Syndics, because to get the Syndics to fight the humans, they didn't have to worry about dealing with the humans because they was already having a conflict with someone else. It was only just that's the only time they brought it up, but it was brought up. So, they have seeded it, which is good. He obviously had the idea about this.
Get a little foreshadowing.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I did like that. The only thing that gets me is you got the Alliance, Syndics, and you got aliens. So why don't the Alliance, just go around? Sort of straight line.
I think it's that when you're thinking about the 3D space that they can jump to, it's like you could go up and as long as it's, but it's like eventually you're going to have to go through something. It's like, the Alliance could have said maybe spent like 3 or 4 years jumping a colony all the way around Syndicate space to go to some planet that's behind them, but then they're going to have to either keep going around or risk the Syndicates, cutting them off as a supply line. So, and eventually you are going to reach a dead end or a star you can't jump to, or you'll reach the one star with nowhere to go but backwards, and you'll be like, where do you go from there? And when you're trapped between two people, there's only going to be so many stars going up and going down.
Right. Or, Joe, the real reason is because the plot says so, and we need the conflict. But yeah.
They did that in this because they bounced in and out of the borderline of the enigmas until they got to a point where they hopped the line over to these other aliens. I was just saying, like, they could just do that to Syndics all the way up and then be like, oh wow, because surely unless like the Syndics here, the enigmas are here and they just parallel all the way up to a certain point, like it's going to be another point where like the Syndic space is going to be like there'll be no one, and then that other race is further up, so they're going to join up, because
that's the way I kind of visualized it, because they had the conversation about we could either go in deeper but then they was like worried about trying to get out. Like they didn't want to get cut off from all the gates.
Right.
And then, but Geary was saying, well, you know, because he's so honorable, he was like, even though this is a suicide mission, our goal is to find the border, like of their territory. And so he was like, I'll just keep scooting along that border and keep just running as he gets more and more alien species just tailing him.
Right.
I was like, there's like an armada behind him, and he's like, no, just keep going, no problems, you know, like.
And everybody's so chill about it.
I was
right, like
exactly.
And can I also, I just had a thought hit me, because I remember Geary saying something. It's like, I don't intend to keep running towards the core as part of their, you know, their progress. And if if I have any basic astrology left in my head from the class I failed, I think stars get denser as you get closer to the core, even like, so in other words, humanity's out here on the
right
rim.
Distance, aren't we?
Eventually, if you kept going either backwards or sideways, you're going to run into stars that are so far apart that you're not going to be able to keep going towards the rim. So going coreward makes more sense. So you have more stars like midway to, you know, to network your jumping as you set up gates and giant bombs in your systems to travel with.
Congratulations, everybody. Not only did you come here and learn a lot about the Lost Fleet, but we can also help you with your astrology. So you're welcome. Make sure to like and subscribe, all these lovely people. And if you need tutoring help, you can find AdmiralStarNight in
I failed the class, so don't you dare.
But if they haven't took the class yet, you've done better.
Yeah. Enigmas, unknown. Oh my.
I liked them. That's interesting.
I feel like a decent amount happened in this book. Going back through, like, we kind of dragged our feet in the beginning. I kind of wish we got to see a little bit more of the honeymoon period between Dejani and our boy Blackjack. But we got some
when he went back to meet
memories.
the parents.
The whole, what, you trying to kill me?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, there isn't more later in the series, but there's some references to it later in the series. So if you keep reading and you're a very good boy, then you'll be able to get to see more of the lovely couple.
Got you.
Yeah. What were your guys' thoughts about, like, the reason why I think it was the other admiral that was like, hey, just so you guys know, everybody's now watching you now that you're on the main ship, right? You got married in that little honeymoon period where they're both captains. It was honorable, it was legit. But they're like, hey, they're going to be watching to see if you guys can stay professional. I felt like, in a way, even though they kind of had some moments that were quote unquote like behind the sound dampener or whatever, they definitely flirted with that line a lot more. Like, they were a lot more casual this book than the first series. I know, Carlos, you haven't gotten to the first series, but, like, did they cross that line? Were they still professional enough?
I
pass the
felt
sniff
they were
test?
still quite good. I didn't feel that they was getting a bit sort of corny and cheesy with each other. You know what I mean? I felt like they stayed in their own rooms. They did quite good. They even sort of joked about they can't spend time with each other too much. You know, I thought they did quite well.
She did push back a lot more.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Like, as far as the hierarchy goes, and I don't know your full background, but Carlos, you said you have like some military background.
Yeah.
Like, you know, from your perspective, like, he's the next tier up, right? There was a lot of times where she kind of pushed back on would seem as orders. Maybe it was suggestions. I don't know. She definitely.
Yeah, I would say, like, in terms of like how our military is structured in the United States versus how how it's like projected into the books, where there's this, like Gary's background is like this super highly regimented structure. I would say that our military is actually not highly regimented. Like it is, like whatever they say is what goes. But the way that you're given the orders is like, here is your objective, and then down below that, then they figure out how to achieve those objectives, and then that just progressively goes down. So that way there is some autonomy at the specific level inside of that, inside of these boundaries, which allows us to give the flexibility to not be like standing in a line shooting at each other kind of thing.
Right.
And so I took their like personal side was very professional, but she was basically, I think she just did things on her own in the book that he actually disagreed with, but because they worked, he couldn't reprimand her. Like, he's like, don't do that, is what you should have done. And she's like, I already did it and it worked. Gary all the way. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And so, yeah, I just wonder if once it doesn't work, what will happen?
Very different than the way supposedly the fleet operates, where they're trying to micromanage from a distance and they want to give all the commands out and tell them how to fight. And I think, like, even with some rare exceptions, Blackjack does that right with the whole fleet, right? Where they all have their maneuvering orders. I'm curious to see if the favoritism gets called out later, because there was a point when I think like they did a divide and conquer later in the fighting, right? Like, didn't Geary do some sort of level tactical, and then he let Dejani do the maneuvers for another group or something like that? Like, if they're trying to make sure they stay professional and above board, to give your wifey command when she's 8th in line compared to other senior enlisted seems kind of kind
of breaks that whole bond thing there.
I thought that what you're talking about the end when the battle cruisers were the big missile bomb things were coming at them. I thought it was all of the captains flew their own ships individually, so he stepped back and let her and all of the captains do their own thing. I didn't know she was actually controlling all the battle cruisers.
I may be misremembering, but I think I was referring to a different battle. We had a couple.
What you're referring to, I believe, is when they went after the Enigma human asteroid. Yes. She was put in command of the battle cruisers, because the battle cruisers were the only thing that could reach the asteroid fast enough. So while she was technically junior to a bunch of other, she was put in command because she's good with that sort of stuff. And I never really had any problems with that, because I saw with, since Geary doesn't have proper flag staff, she's the flag captain, which Wald Jr. technically makes her a bit more of an authority than the others. I'm not an expert on ranks, even though I probably should be, considering I live and breathe sci-fi military stuff. So her issuing the commands wasn't as much of a problem, because who else was he supposed to give it to in a reasonable amount of time? It's like, she's right there. It's like, you do it.
They can coordinate in real time, as opposed to waiting however many light seconds to take care of stuff. That makes sense.
There was one other person, I think, that was supposed to be like they mentioned the name, and I don't remember who it was. That was a captain of a ship or whatever. That was like, it should be that guy. You're the best.
No, I think it was.
I remember
Invincible.
I remember, it was Invincible, and I forgot who the other captain was. Badea. They went after the first alien freighter that came away from the first the first station they went after, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They were going after it, and it's like, Badea or whoever, go, and then Invincible got to stick up their ass, and they're like, wait, why wasn't it? And it was like, we're not breaking people.
Right.
we're not breaking the commands just to make you feel good.
Right. Otherwise, you'd be citing me the regulations right now in this meeting.
Yeah, it was Tulivus, whatever his name is. He's the one who he wished controlled it, was in charge, but he's third in line,
right.
or second in line to the other, to Pedaeus or whatever. That's
Right.
why, because at the end when Ryan was asking who would take over if you died, it would be Pedaeus, whatever his name is, but he has to take advice from T-Man, whatever his name is, and another one,
whatever.
Tuliv, that's it,
Yeah.
and someone else as well. He has to work as a team basically because they all could feed
Live
each
in
other.
duellos.
Yeah.
Right on.
Oh, cool.
I definitely think as the first time going through the book with the time dilation stuff, I remember watching your guys's shows about the first series. I didn't see all of them, but when I finally caught up, you guys were doing this thing, and I thought that was pretty darn interesting. How it wasn't just a science thing. How it was like, no, you could use this tactically because once you show up in a place, they have X amount of time before they even know that you're there. And then you will be somewhere else by the time they even realize that place where you were, you know what I mean? And I'm just, that tactically is pretty interesting to like make it so simple to understand actually when you're reading it.
Yes. But then like the mind's eye can kind of extrapolate, and it's like, okay, we're talking about a couple hundred different ships with all the little support crafts hovering around and everything that they're trying to coordinate in this combat. Faster than light.
Yeah, it's crazy. The other question I had for you guys is, as like sci-fi junkies, is the lack of fighter jets.
Missiles are cheaper.
That's
pretty much it. Unless you can really justify, but in this sort of battle, it wouldn't really work.
Yeah,
because of the speed they're going and stuff. Like, you can just hit them with a missile.
It's like when you said fighters, my mind went to something else, but I don't remember if
Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
Yeah, no. It's Lost Fleet related. I don't think in this kind of setting, fighters would be just very viable, because the other series I've been reading, the Castle Federation, they sort of play around with the whole time dilation thing, other than they have FTL comms and sensors and stuff in that. And it's like the fighters are almost as large as wet Navy destroyers, and still passes, they do passes in like a fifth of a second or something. So when you have these ships flashing by each other in the span of, a second, it's like, do you really want to waste human lives on that sort of slaughter?
And you can't protect such a small craft, and the weapons you can't unload as much in attacks. What's the point of making so many small ones that are easy to die? That's why they have bigger ships which can survive hits and unload hits as well. Just the way the fights are.
I don't have the physical book, and I know we've talked about it before, but like, while they don't have the fighter jets, they still have smaller ships than our three big ones, right? Like the auxiliaries, battle cruisers.
They got cruisers.
Like they have smaller ones. Because I think like even Geary, like his initial ship,
heavy cruiser he had.
Yeah. So it was like smaller. So like in that sense, don't those kind of take the place of fighter jets, or am I just kind of completely it's not quite the scale of like we're talking to? Go ahead.
He had it in the interview, and he basically was talking about what you guys were just saying about the faster and not the faster light, but the speed at which they're going. To then add the fighters in, they basically wouldn't be able to like keep up. Essentially, like the other ships would be too fast.
Engines they would need,
get all the hardware and the power on there.
Yeah, at that point, you'd pretty much have another ship, because I think the smallest ship we've seen that's like an actual, air warship are the nickel corvettes.
Yes.
And those things are even smaller than the Hucks, which are smaller than the destroyers the Alliance uses. So at that point, that's probably the smallest cost-effective warship that you could make before it becomes a effort in futility.
And so then my next step was like, okay, well, we have all this drone technology. They're not drones here. Wouldn't there be like something that was effectively like a drone there? And then because this was after I read the book and I was like trying to prepare for the podcast, and I was like, holy smokes, the freaking aliens, he has the weapon system set up for them of what we're talking about, where the ships are bullets. I believe that could be the possibly like how the fighter jets would look like if we were to do something.
Suicide craft at that point, I guess.
Exactly. So if you just have them unmanned,
that's it.
Yeah, but then if you have it unmanned, at that point it's just a big ungainly missile. It's either that or you have to put an AI on it. And in the series beforehand, didn't everybody go like, no? And it's like, ugh.
Right. Yeah, they did keep asking those questions, and I think it was Madam President Rion, or no, I forget who
her
it was.
and Deshane. They were disagreeing about it, because Gary's like, why don't we just use AI?
Right. So it's like taboo for the culture, quote unquote. But there's still a certain degree of it, right, with like the ships where they issue the commands, but then the computers are the ones actually doing the firing solutions on the passes.
But at least
so it's like limited
in the loop sort of thing.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Again, earlier in the series, he talks about it as well, where like the AIs are so smart they're dumb, where like queries just is complete unorganized data dump, or like the firing solutions and the trajectory or projections don't adjust in real time, because like that's how they ran into supplies issues towards the end of the first series, where he was losing too few ships and maneuvering more than necessary. So like it's a limited AI that
they're so smart they're dumb.
Yes.
It's just
yes.
And anyways, all it would really take is for the syndicates or somebody to boot up their own AI and feed it, I'm assuming, the same sort of command prompts to get it to, air quotes, grow or whatever. And they'd have something that could infinitely counter whatever you're using, I guess. So.
Yes. And shameless plug, all this talk of sci-fis and AI, the series that Ramsey's coming back for in about 45 minutes on this channel does a lot of sci-fi AI and all the potential scary things that could happen. The fall of Hyperion, right? But kind of along that note, what other questions or final thoughts do you guys have on the series?
I'm interested.
Yeah, excited to keep going.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
With that, the way that the first third of the book, I was like, "Woo!" I did a lot of setup, but I was like, "Okay, he got a whole series before this. He's trying to kind of like connect." I was like, "Okay, I get it," and then it just wrapped up at the end, and it was like very exciting to go on to the next book. I definitely, want to get into. I probably definitely get into that Lost Star series after we're done with this, because the Syndicates is like, I'm just like, why isn't their technology better if they've been fighting with aliens versus the Alliance? And I'm just like, so I'm definitely interested to see what else is going on in the world.
Well, that's what you just said. In the whole first 6 books, so, they'd have the main pain in the arse. He would die or get captured, then a new one would take over. He would die or get cat or she or whatever. Then a new one would come up, and then it kind of like just replacing, and like there was no setup for a lot of them. Where in this, the whole first bit of the book was setting up. There's issues within. There's people in high command or whatever who are trying to get rid of people. There's people in the government who are doing their things. There's all these extra admirals who are going to be pains.
Factions and everything.
you know, there's a lot of setup for these are going to be problems across the book, so it's not going to be just here's a new problem, here you go. You know, there's something going on with Jane Geary as well. He's trying to work out. There's the whole mystery with why Ryone's being even more weirder than she usually is. You know, the boy, the husband keeps wanting, we don't change to a duel no more, but want to change to a duel. And, you know, there's all the, I'm sure there's going to be more drama there. The new character, that new guy, he only has some a bit, but he's befriended Geary a bit. The one, and even tried to salute him really terribly. Whatever his name is.
Military guy, right?
The other admiral. Like, I like, they've got a pool of characters they can start bringing new people in, which will be nice as well.
If I can chime in real quick, I remember us talking about that partway through the first series, how it didn't seem as organized, and it might have even been you, Joe, that was bringing it up, where like every new book, it seems like a whole new set of issues or problems, right? Like it wasn't interconnected for the series, and I feel like what you just articulated is like potential things that can come up later in the series, that it's not just like, okay, here's this captain that we really don't know anything about, and like why do we care, and now he's causing problems, like he has a whole handful of problems in book one for the next 6 books.
That's it. And we know they're there, who they're going to be, okay, but you know, as long as across the books you find bits and bobs out,
and it gives us more time for development, right? It's not just rushed all in these 13 chapters. Okay, now I got to care about this guy who's now our problem that we solved before the end of the book.
Nothing really solved by this book.
No,
we just have more problems.
That's the only thing I was like, it's super exciting, and then I was like, what do we do though? Like, you know what I mean? There's nothing solved. We
explored Enigma's space. Like he got like part of his commands done, and
we know they live underwater. Like,
we got our gills and 6 limbs.
I understand it's probably page count, but this is like, you know, if this was a huge epic single novel, I feel like this would be the great first third of the book, and then it would have we would have had all the pacing issues, because it would have been like, okay, the first 140 pages, that's nothing in any of these big epics. It's almost like you got to take it at like 3 books is really like one chunker. Yeah.
I'm right there with you. This has been a lot of fun, guys. Any other final thoughts?
No, I'm cool.
Before we wrap?
No, not really.
Thank you. So where do I get to see the 7 o'clock?
Yeah, 7 p.m. right here on Geek on Your Sleeve. We are hanging out with
Geek
Rajathon.
On my sleeve, not Geek on your sleeve.
Geek on my sleeve. Good catch, Joe. Good catch.
Especially at the bottom of the screen as well.
Whose sleeves? We're all geeks here. I appreciate you guys. Shameless plug, 7 p.m. Fall of Hyperion. Joe, it's been a pleasure. You got anything cool coming up on your channel you want to plug?
No, it's got to do the next. I haven't even written up the script for the next video. I've got to do I've got so many books. I bought a load of books like a few months ago, and I'm just sitting behind me. I want to do a book. I just keep forgetting to do it. I'm so bad. It's the kids. I've got 3 kids at home. I have to.
Too many jobs. Dad first and foremost. I get that. Carlos, we appreciate you joining us. Looking forward to that first book haul. Any anticipated ETA? I need to get the links from you.
Plug
in the description below.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll get that to you, and I'm just excited to really get started with the. I've been just viewing, a voyeur in the community for a while now, and so I thought it'd be fun to kind of join in. So
absolutely take the plunge. Met a lot of great people in this community who want to talk books. I think we all want to find more people like that, and I know in my little real world group it's kind of hard to do that, but we had 5-6 awesome people to talk Lost Fleet with. So yeah. And then last but not least, AdmiralStarNight. Aside from tutoring help and astrology, what else we got coming up?
Because of how busy life's been, and as I said in my intro, it's like I'm kind of an on and off author. As writing is very difficult, and getting the muse to actually write my story and not just plan it out in my head is really hard. So there's a 9th chapter of my story, Novu Soul, in the works right now. It's about maybe halfway done, but it's unless I stay up until 12 tonight writing it, it's probably not going to come out for another like couple weeks or something.
Sleep's important. We get that.
Sleep is not important. That's for weaklings. Yeah, but other than that, I've just been like doing like little things like in the Discord and the share our writing. There's a couple of like infographics and stuff I've made for
Fun.
details in my universe.
Fun.
But
And
yeah.
plug it again. Where we find that story? The first 8 chapters.
Novu Soul. It's on Wattpad under AdmiralStarNight. I'm
awesome.
Same name everywhere, pretty much.
Awesome. I will do my best to get that in the description below from you. Yeah. Thanks again. Joe, do you remember whose channel we're hopping to next? I know we need to coordinate everybody's schedules. Next time for book 2 of Beyond the Frontier, Jack Campbell, probably going to be a month-ish out. And yeah, hopefully we can catch Carlos and AdmiralStarNight again, coordinate everybody's schedules, watch social media for those details, and Rajathon YouTube.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you much, guys.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
See you later.
Bye.